Hello everyone, it's Kylie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I have a journal to share with you today. I have called this journal Manon. My cousin shares the same name, and she is a beautiful, soft, quiet person. I feel just like this journal. Now, the thing with Manon was I just kept putting more and more things in, like I typically do, to the point where I couldn't actually close the journal even though it has a flexible cover. So I have made extra tags using printables from a couple of my kits and a sort of patchy lace tag. There is space to journal on the back, so they will be coming. They will be included, but they will be separate to the actual journal. And as you know, you change things around and you do what you want with your journal. Here I have added some little extra details to the closure. That's a vintage glass bead from a necklace and a mother of pearl button. I've just done a knot and pinned a bulb pin to the end, and on this one there is a vintage little heart charm and bead, and it just has not a big sound, but there's a little bit of sound and movement to the closure, and I just thought that was a really sweet thing to do and very easy detail to add. On the cover here, I was inspired by two of my favorite Instagram accounts, and I have linked those in a reel I did on the cover of Manon. So please go and have a look at my Instagram account, and I will also put those Instagram accounts in the description for this video so you can have a look. So this was one idea where instead of just sewing on a button, you sort of embroider a little flower, and that's actually what keeps the button on the fabric, and a little garden. So I had a space there, and I was going to put another doily snippet. I think that's actually an embroidered medallion from a from doilies, but I thought, oh, I might just do a little garden. Yeah, so that's how that sort of happened there. I have hand stitched the cover onto the journal, as you can see there, because that just adds sort of, I find when you use a sewing machine, it feels tight, and I wanted it to have, this journal to have that loose feel. It has a hidden spine because this is a really beautiful piece of antique lace. It does have stains from age. It has been washed. I do wash all of the laces that I get, but I just wanted that to be the thing that you see on the shelf rather than signature strings. And on the back here, I have used vintage and antique laces and doilies, which I typically do when I make a journal. There's a real mix, and I have just layered those on the journal. I've not stuck them. They are stitched down with the hand stitching, and with I hand stitched these on as well, and the buttons. So that's actually what's keeping the cover onto the light cardstock that I use to make it sort of a flexible cover. It's flexible, but it's still firm, if that makes sense. And going inside, I didn't put anything on the inside cover, on the front or the back, because I just really love that beautiful fabric, beautiful rose fabric. So I've left that so that you can appreciate the fabric. I've got one of my collaged laminated fancy school teacher forgetting what that word is. That's terrible. Anyway, I have used a lot of original French ephemera throughout this journal, and that's one of the pieces there. I just loved that. That's actually a folded letter, and that's part of it. And I've just tucked that into a pocket. This is some beautiful antique lace, and I've just put a little doily medallion on there, and I've woven through a little velvet flower, so some pretty details at the start. This is folded over. You can definitely glue that to make it a tuck spot, or you can journal on that whole page. I have used some of my printable kits in this journal, and that's an original Will cigarette card. That's another, I'll just get one of the extra tags to show you that's a tuck spot. I got this beautiful dyed, I think it's coffee stained paper from an Etsy shop in Australia, so I will link that in the description. And I've just added a really sweet vintage pearl on a bowl pin at the end of that ruffle. Here I have used an antique French envelope, and the way that I've put that on is with washi tape, Tim Holtz washi tape. It just flips down, so that just rests there as a layer. You can see the gorgeous wax seal still on the back, and I've just tucked in an antique postcard there as well. So that's all pretty layers with a bow at the top, and I've just stapled that on with a little copper colored staple. Here's a tuck spot. One of these tags would have been in this tuck spot because of the bows on everything. It was just making the journal too bulky. That's a quarter of a beautiful old handkerchief. And here is a printable piece that I've made into a pocket, and I've just glued on a snippet from the edge of a tablecloth. And this is one of those vellum, embossed vellum with a Tim Holtz 3D embosser, and I've put a little antique Victorian calling card, and that's a beautiful old piece of lace I've just stitched on there as a little pocket. This is some really gorgeous, it's like eyelet, but very old, so there are some little dots on that because of its age, and this is an original document. That's just a collaged journaling card, and I used that instead of lace popping out. I used a tea stain doily. I've done a decorated paper clip. That's a rusted paper clip, and I made a snippet, 2 snippet rolls, a thin one and a thicker one, just with all my little bits and pieces, and I stapled that onto the rusted paper clip. So that's how that was created, and hopefully I can get it back on. I'm not sure how. Sometimes I'm not sure how I do things because it's been, this journal unfortunately has been sitting here for almost a week waiting to be filmed. Poor Manon has been sitting and waiting, but there's 2 beautiful old pieces of ephemera as well, so original pieces there, just tucked on for that layered effect. This is part of that snippet roll, so I've just glued that on. Again, that is folded over. You can glue it into a tuck spot. Here is just a little collage of old pieces of paper. I've put a little topper on the rusted paper clip there. This is a old piece of music paper. I've just folded up the bottom. I stitched on some old bobbin lace first, folded it up, and then I pinned it with a brad just to make the tuck more firm. So that's like a cute way of sort of adding that layer. That's a printable, and I've just backed it with some old school book paper. But that sort of makes it a firm pocket. You could definitely take that to the next level and actually create like a little layered cluster there and pin that to give more layers. I've used some book page to make a tag. My mum actually cut a lot of those out, and that just, the colors just match in beautifully. This is some gorgeous old lace, and I've just pinned like a crocheted medallion onto that, and nice big journaling card there. Just collaged different types of embossed paper, and I hand stitched a little rose, and I did another one of those little button. I think now it will feel weird not to do that when I'm sewing a button on, making a little flower. It's just super cute. So I've got that tucked in there, and I really love that part. I think this is the Grungy Antiques, one of the Grungy Antiques kits, and that's actually a photo and frame, a handmade frame that I have, because a lot of the things that I scan, well, everything that I scan I actually have as a piece of ephemera, and I just love how it's sort of, when you flip the page over, it kind of looked real. Here I've got a wallpaper tag and a piece of vintage ephemera, transport ephemera. This is the other snippet roll that I made, so it's a little bit wider, and I've used it as a pocket here. That is, what's her name? Rebecca Warren, such a stunning actress. That's also in the printable kit. A little tab here, and I decided, because there wasn't enough going on obviously, that I would make a little bow out of some leftover lace and stick that on the edge. So that's a little bow that I have pinned onto the tab. I thought that was super cute. Here I've just added a couple of layers, so a stamped tea bag, some embossed paper, and some embossed pianola paper. And that creates sort of a tuck spot on the other side as well. And another collaged tag, vintage, or it might be antique wallpaper, some embossed paper. This is antique French magazine, and that was the horticulture section. And then I've just hand stitched the lace on, you can see that on the other side, just so that it felt sort of light, or had that sort of a light, loose appearance. Here is another tuck spot, and I've just woven, put holes through the side and woven one of those little velvet flowers there to keep that ephemera in. You can see that on the other side. And you know, this is some beautiful legal French ledger, and I've just stuck that in there using the flower. Here I've created a double tuck using a piece of very delicate French almanac, which is like a diary, and I just folded that over and put a little piece of Tim Holtz washi tape, so that's a little pocket there, and that's a little pocket behind it. I thought that was really cute, and that's on some vintage braille. I created a pocket out of a really sweet hand crocheted doily, and I've just added a couple of layers onto a tag. Had too much coffee this morning. I think I've had too much coffee. I've had 2 coffees on an empty stomach. So if I sound funny and I'm jittery, that's the reason. My poor body's trying to cope with too much caffeine. But this was the time to do this, and I've drunk a lot of water, but it doesn't make any difference. It just has to naturally leave my system. But I'm getting a lot done today, which is really good. Okay, so on this side I have a piece of vintage German botany book. That is actually an original Victorian scrap on an original luggage tag, and they're really hard to find now because they've become quite popular. That's also a little original ticket, and I just have all of that held on with a mini paper clip, and I've decorated that with a piece of lace. So I just love the layers on that page. Here I've used some absolutely gorgeous antique lace, and that's a collaged tag or card. Nice big one that tucks in there. And this is more of that snippet roll. I finally got around to doing it. I've used most of the two in this journal, but that's okay. This is an original postcard. I just put a little bit of washi tape on the end there, and when I tore it out of the book, you can get these in little like 10 in a little booklet, and you tear them out, and when you're traveling, I guess you would write, you know, something on it, and you had a little pack of 10. So I've just made a tuck spot there at the top, and I have a rusted bull clip holding that side in, and on this side there's some of a French receipt, so that's original as well, and I've just tucked that underneath that little part of the clip. Here I've used some book page to make a tag, sweet little tag, and that's just tucked into a printed page, a piece of ephemera for one of my kits, I should say, on a printed page. And on this side, I do like when you use a collaged page, it sort of adds layers even though it's one-dimensional. That's a piece of wallpaper, it's a wallpaper tag, and I've just cut out one of the ladies from the kit, sort of fussy cut her onto there so she looks like she's walking through a garden. Some beautiful lace as the bow at the top, and an original flash card in French and English. So just tucked that in there. This is where I put a tab on the side and sewed it on. So this could be a tuck spot as well, but you could also tuck something underneath the tab on both sides because it's quite heavy. That's tea stained sari. Yeah, sari trim, yes. Just, my brain is going 100 miles an hour, but I have explained that. This is some more of that really gorgeous coffee dyed paper. The pattern is just, I could never do that, and I don't feel bad supporting other Etsy shops by buying their gorgeous coffee dyed paper. Some more of that snippet roll. On this tag I've just added, that was actually a piece of the snippet roll that was left over onto a tag, and that's just tucked up into this beautiful antique lace on some antique embroidery journal. Another gorgeous ruffle. I love that postcard. The whole postcard looks, I put this over the top of it and created some washi tape, but she just looks so awkward in her butterfly outfit holding onto the plant, but I just think she's adorable. So anyway, awkward and adorable. That's another little tuck. Here is an original envelope, and it's folded in a really unusual way, and the stamp is actually embossed, like it's pressed in, and I'm still doing a little bit of research on that. Yeah, so I found that interesting. I've tucked that in there. Some of my favorite antique bobbin lace with the tassels at the bottom. I do have enough of that to share it, but I only used a little bit. Still getting there. Another ribbon I've just stapled on the top, and here I've used an old like a vintage, I think it's like a vellum glassine coin envelope. I've just zigzagged that on to the edge there and tucked in a little card I made from book page, or Mum made I should say, and I backed it. Here I have a gorgeous piece, very loosely handmade, crocheted trim, and I've put some of the thicker snippet roll at the top there. My poor brain, oh, the things I'm making it do today. And that's some original French ephemera there. Anyway, it's what happens when you're trying to do too many things at once, because you need to. Okay, that's another little tuck spot on the other side there. Here I have stapled a few pieces, so some tea-stained paper doily, embossed paper, and some gorgeous French ephemera, a little snippet there, that's stapled on. Here is another, it's called onion skin paper because it's really thin. And this is, I think, from a train company. So it's sort of, I think it's what happens to duplicate paper. It's like vintage duplicate paper, but I think they call it onion skin. So I've just popped that underneath that little tuck spot there, and it's not glued down, as you can see. It just, the weight of the snippet stitched on is holding that in. This is another gorgeous antique lace pocket. It's actually sort of a double pocket. You could stick something underneath there as well, which would be very fun. I just maxed out Manon's space. There's no as I showed you, I had to take some things out. That's another piece of gorgeous antique lace, just as a tuck spot there. And I just popped some trim at the top of that page. I used some washi tape because there is a brad on the other side of that, and I didn't want it to catch. So on this side I've created a tuck spot and some layers using a brad. A piece of original ephemera. I'm not sure where the date is on that, but I've just put a little piece of vintage trim. Oh, 1880, 19th of April 1880. This is a folded letter as well. I purchased some years ago. They're so I'm glad I did. I'm glad I hoarded years ago. And the guy sent it to me from France, and they were all flat. He'd flattened them out, you know, to make it easier to post, and he was all excited because he had flattened them all out for me, and he'd chosen the ones with beautiful handwriting. And part of me was excited, but the other part of me was like, oh no, I wanted them folded, and I didn't know how to refold it because it was completely flat. But they make really beautiful, delicate pages in a journal, so, you know, you make do. That's another snippet from some antique French ephemera, and that's one of those tea-stained sari trim tabs. And this is a little tuck spot, 2 tuck spots here in the center of the signature, and you can put a tag in there and fold that down. A little bit of secret journaling space. That is actually a rose, so you can see the rose and then the leaves at the bottom. And I've just added a little medallion at the bottom there. That's an original library card, and I've just put some of that wallpaper on there and stapled another bow to the top, so that actually helps to keep that tuck spot nice and firm, but still sort of floaty. I tried to sort of achieve that balance where I knew things would stay in the journal, but it had that sort of light feel to it. Some really beautiful antique eyelet, and that also has marks on it from age. The other side of that folded letter or receipt. Another of those floral pages. I had a little snippet, so I just decided to sew it on there for something a bit interesting and different. So not everything has to be big and impressive. Sometimes it's the little details that really make a page stand out. That's some more of that snippet as a pocket. And on this printable card, I've just added a few pieces of few bits and pieces that can be used to collage in the journal. I've just stuck that on with a mini paper clip, And that's the end of the journal, the end of Manon. Not the end of Manon, I shouldn't say that in terms of my cousin, but yes, that's the end of the journal called Manon. Yeah, so a couple of buttons on the back there as well. And there we go. So thanks for sticking with me during my hyperactive prattling. So as I said, Manon comes with a little group of extra tags, which I'll probably put on the front as part of the journal. And yeah, thank you so much. This will be in my end of February, I can't believe it's already February, shop update. I am hoping to have at least one other thing, but when I decided that, I think it was the 14th of February and now it's the 20th. So who knows, I'm running out of time to make something else. So this may be my entire shop update for February, I'm not sure. But at any rate, just know that I'm doing my best to go into my craft room because it is my happy place, and I'm very lucky to have one, and I'm very grateful to have one, and I do really enjoy being in here. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.